Lauren at Books, and I'm here to do my January Tarot TBR. So, if you haven't seen one of these from me before, how it works is I pull one card from a tarot deck that tells me the vibe of the month and also how many books are on my TBR for that month. Then I pull however many cards the previous card tells me to, and I base my picks for the month off my readings of those cards. The more we get into it, the more sense it'll make. So because I want to start the month and start the year off strong, I've gone for my favourite deck. I've gone for the Wild Unknowns tarot deck, which is just full of beautiful illustrations and I can read really easily. I feel really connected to the deck. So the first card I pulled was the Eight of Cups inverted. So usually not a great card to pull. Usually, if it is in the upright position, you can see this card as a really timely warning that you need to make a very decisive change. However, inverted, it's more about a positive movement. Moving forward with purpose, not looking back. It's a really good inverted card to get at the start of a year, kind of channeling us forward, pushing on, starting really strong, which is obviously a fantastic way to start a year. So, that's the vibe we get. The number is obviously the 8, because it's the 8 of Cups. So we will be reading, or choosing from, 8 books this month. So I pulled 8 cards for 8 books, and the first one we're going to talk about is the High Priestess. So exciting. The High Priestess is all about using stillness and inner peace to increase your power, to do things that you didn't think were possible. It's got a lot of psychic connotations. It's a very powerful card. It's got a lot of links with intuitions and dreams and illusions and memory, and also it kind of tells you need to be listening to the things that are going on around you. And right at the start of last year, I picked up Disoriental by Negar Javadi, translated by Tina Kova, and it is about a young Iranian girl coming to terms with her sexuality and her family's opinions on that, basically, and historically what her family would have felt about who she is. And I feel that is a really good link for this card because she has to listen to and engage with the ghosts of her family, and she's not really sure if they are illusions, if they're dreams, if she's just daydreaming, or if they really are visiting her to kind of judge her life. She has to take on board what they're saying. Then we had the Mother of Pentacles inverted. So normally this card is about a really strong, warm, maternal relationship, a woman who really invests her whole life around the home and is really proficient at that. Inverted, she becomes clingy and needy. She can't live for herself. She lives vicariously through her family. And because of that, I decided to match this with The New Wilderness by Diane Cook, which is about a mother who takes her daughter back out from their very modern, maybe futuristic society into the wild to learn a new, more natural way of living for her daughter's health, and kind of the fear that she'll lose her daughter to this new world. Very, very happy about that. Next up, we had the Five of Cups inverted, and obviously this is quite a sad boy. It's about a period of sorrow, or stagnation, or grief. Inverted, it's kind of about coming out of that period and rejoining the world, becoming engaged in the world again. For this, I kind of struggle to pick a book. I have decided to go with The Tale of Her Time Being by Ruth Zecchi, which is all about a woman finding the diary of a young girl who is going through kind of loads of things you'd expect a young girl to go through in the modern world, like cyberbullying. She feels like she's understood by her family. She's going through this really turbulent period of growing up that we all experience. But this diary washes up on a beach. So it's kind of removed from that girl's life, and also the greater disaster we assume she must have gone through if this diary ended up in a tsunami washed up hundreds of miles away. And I think it's going to help the woman who reads it come to peace with herself and kind of engage in this long journey. And it's about the relationship of a writer and a reader and how disparate they can be. And to me, it just felt like that span of time, that growth, things happening outside of our control, that really spoke to this card. Another inverted card, we've got a lot of them today, is the Magician, a Major Arcana card. This is all about having access and the courage to use the power at your disposal. So as you can see, he has The Wands, the Cups, the Pentacles and the Swords, he has all of the elements at his disposal, so he can just go for it. However, we had this inverted, so I'm reading this as frustrated potential, conflicts of power, kind of all that potential being wasted in some way. I am going to put the cover of the book here. It is a translated book that I bought without knowing much about. I think it's called the Mirrorland. I know it was translated from French. It's the first one in a middle grade YA series, fantasy series about a girl who has these abilities to travel between mirrors, and she's got some other abilities as well. And it gets her into some trouble. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but I know this girl is really quite special and has a lot of gifts. And maybe they cause us some problems. Maybe they're the reason things go wrong. So then we have the Empress inverted. The right way up, the Empress is a really warm, loving, nurturing, maternal relationship. It's very creative, and it kind of questions whether you are seeking a maternal relationship or you are seeking some kind of loving connection. Inverted, I have interpreted that as kind of a desperate seeking, kind of like a mother distraught, maybe on the verge of stifling the child, but the mother looking for something that she can't find. And because of that, I've chosen to pair this with N.K. Jemison's The Fifth Season, which again I've mentioned in lots of these videos and seems to be linked to quite a lot of cards in my mind. I started last year and I really wanted to read it because I didn't get very far in. Next up is the Three of Wands, and you guessed it, it's inverted. So, the right way up, Three of Wands is all about you being one wand and two other wands holding you up, supporting you on your journey. And when you get this card, it's a sign for you to kind of move beyond those people who supported you and go the last few steps on your own. However, inverted, I believe this talks about not taking for granted the people who support you, not leaving them behind, and listening to them and taking their advice on board because they know you better than anyone. However, maybe you just go alone anyway and disregard that advice. Because of that, I have chosen to pair this with The Vanishing Half by Bennett, because that is a story about a woman who leaves behind her support structure, her family, to kind of go off and better herself, and everything she aims to do is solely for herself, and it leaves her family struggling, leaves them behind, leaves them having lost a sister and an aunt and a daughter. She does it for reasons that I can totally understand. She is motivated by the judgments against her because of her race, and it's totally understandable that if she can pass as white, maybe she would want that privilege in her life, but it comes as such a detriment to the people around her. Seven of Wands, inverted. So, again, this is very similar to the last card. This is about going out and doing it on your own, using your own power and your own insight, following your gut to find your way out of the dark. Inverted, I believe this talks about using that courage to stand up for the people around you who can't shine quite as brightly, not to leave your friends behind. And because of that, I wanted kind of an epic fantasy cast of characters on a quest, and it has to be Red Leopard, get this right, Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. West African inspired fantasy quest. It's got a witch, it's got a shapeshifter, it's got all those tropey characters we know and love, but from a culture that isn't often represented in sci-fi and fantasy. So maybe I'll actually get to it this time, and maybe the sun can stop giving me this ethereal glow, or maybe I'll work it. And finally a card that everyone is very nervous to see on any kind of reading. It is the Devil, but guess what? He's inverted. So the Devil is normally like, whoa, don't panic, but you are doing something that is really unhealthy in your life. You know what you're doing is harmful and you're carrying on anyway. This is the time to stop and everything will still be okay. It's a kind of addiction, materialism, negative behaviours and thoughts. You're fine, stop now, figure it out, and you'll be fine. Inverted. I am maintaining a part of that reading in that this is very much still a warning about those things, about materialism, about kind of all those big threats to our life like classism, pretentiousness. But maybe you don't get the warning quite in time. Maybe you jump headlong into those things and really involve yourself in them. And because of that, I have chosen to pair this with The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which is about a person who gets into a secret society who are up to no good. That was a very heavily inverted reading. I think we only had the High Priestess, who was the right way up, which is interesting. Maybe that tells us something about how we're going to be looking at the year in 2021. Maybe it's because I'm really bad at shuffling cards. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the weird lighting. I am losing the light as I film this. Hopefully I'll get to read at least some of these books this month, and I hope you have an absolutely magical reading month. See you later. Bye.